The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
You actually can't try to be this shitty.
And Aiden would know. He's the foremost expert on it.
I am.
Yeah, the best kind of shit is the shit that doesn't mean to be shit.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. My name is JD, and I am joined by Matt. Woo! And Kyle is unfortunately having computer issues, so he couldn't join us. But in his stead, we have Aiden with us.
Hey, it's great to be back again.
Yeah, Aiden's always down to fill in for when Kyle is indisposed or
when you're indisposed.
When anyone's indisposed.
Not me.
When anyone's indisposed, and it's something that I actually can talk about.
There you go.
And you can talk about this one because apparently you're a very big fan of this studio.
Oh, I'm a very big fan of this studio.
Okay, so we are going to be talking about Wolfwalkers, which is the fourth theatrical film from Irish studio Cartoon Saloon. They've before put out movies Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea, Breadwinner, all of which are really good movies, and I am baffled that we have not covered on this show. We will get to them eventually, believe you me. But this is after it's weird on this movie because both Song of the Sea and Secret of Kells were very Irish folklore based. They went away with that for one movie in Breadwinner, where they focused on a story in the Middle East, but came back to their Irish folklore roots with Wolfwalkers. If you have not seen any of these movies and are not familiar with Cartoon Saloon, like I said, they are a I'm not going to say like a major animation studio, but
they're very much like a they're not an indie studio, but they're lesser known. They're very well known in animation circles, but they're not very well known in the general scope. That being said, if you haven't seen any of these films, you have respect for the medium of animation, you gotta watch at least one of these films.
Yeah,
like
I
they
mean,
are must watches.
I was watching the other day. It popped up on my feed again. Back in, I don't remember which year it was. It's whatever year Secret of Kells and Princess the Frog came out.
2019 or no, 2009. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, the Oscars had like the characters from the movies like giving a little aside before the animation thing.
They had Fantastic Mr. Fox. They had Princess and the Frog. They had Up. They had Coraline
and Secret of Kells.
Secret of Kells,
yeah. So it was just
a fucking year for animated movies. God damn.
And I've gone on record saying that I still feel particularly. That was the year when I didn't place any importance in what the Academy had to say as far as who should deserve the award. Because of all those movies, and I'm not saying I've already gone into this before, and Up is a fine movie, but up against the rest of those movies, it should not have won. Oh
my god, like I don't even know if Kells would have won that, because like that's how stiff competition was that year.
So as far as the Cartoon Saloon movies, though, like all four of them, well, I mean, not this one, obviously, because it just came out last month, but I assume it will be. All the other ones that have came out have been nominated for Best Animated at the Oscars.
Did Song of the Sea get nominated?
Yeah, it got nominated, and then it lost to fucking Big Hero 6.
Ooh.
Oh, which I'm conflicted because I actually like that movie, but Song of the Sea, I'm sure, is more technically well done.
It's not just technically well done. I'd say it's one of the best animated films of all time. Just full stop. It's one of the best.
I feel bad because I very vividly remember watching Secret of Kells and Breadwinner. I don't remember watching Song of the Sea, despite my wife saying I have.
Yeah, I of the Cartoon Saloon movies, I've watched Wolfwalkers obviously for the show. I saw Secret of Kells a couple of years ago in a theater, and that was the first time watching it. And that was great. I still have not seen Song of the Sea or Breadwinner, but I am definitely going to try to make a point to watch both of those at some point this year, because Wolfwalkers is. We should just get it out of the way. Wolfwalkers is incredible.
Wolfwalkers is a Okay, Song of the Sea is like my second favorite film of all time, right above Spider-Verse, but that's not even being fair. That's like another level above.
Yeah.
This Wolfwalkers is like almost tied. This movie is a genuine masterpiece.
It's so good.
It's
Like
unbelievable.
this might I need to rewatch the old movies again, but I think this might be their best movie yet.
I rewatched all their movies again recently. I still have more sentimental value for Song of the Sea for its more emotional story. But oh my god, just on like, if I'm being like completely critical, I think this is their best work yet.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot. I'm still stunned that the studio continues to find ways to raise their own bar.
Oh yeah, like every time every outing they've had so to improve, whether it's their storytelling, whether it's their animation, just like every aspect gets just a little bit better each time, and like this is like no exception. Like they've definitely, this is the culmination of their last 3 films put together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of interesting because it almost feels like a simpler movie compared to the other ones. I'm not sure if I'm a little off base. I'm only saying that because I feel like there's only like 2 locations in this whole movie. There's the town and then there's the forest, which you only see like the tree line and the wolf's den.
Well, like in the same thing kind of works in Kells. There's only really 2 locations in that movie too, the town and the forest. But like, and a lot of, I'll be real, a lot of Wolfwalkers story beats and themes kind of are very similar to Secret of Kells in that way.
Well,
it is also a like historical fiction that uses a combination of Irish history and Irish folklore to tell a fucking really incredible story.
Yeah. Just to bring this up, I didn't catch it at the time, but my wife said that there's a part where we'll get into the characters, but Maeve, the wolf girl, is like picking stuff out of Robin, and I think she picks out like a stone from Secret of Kells.
Yeah, she pulls out the eye of, oh man. Someone's gonna correct me in the comments. Someone please correct me in the comments because I don't remember the name of it. But she pulls out, the eye of the serpent thing from Kells.
Yeah, I had throws it away.
I had a feeling that was a reference, but like I said, I watched Secret of Kells like a couple years ago, and I can't really remember that much from it. But I figured it must have been a reference to one of the other movies.
It was just a weird. It was a funny moment for my wife and I because there's a lot of times where we're watching stuff, and I'll get a laugh out of something because I understand some kind of reference. But it's like that would have meant nothing to me. But my wife is the one who like giggles. She's like, "Oh, that's from Secret of Kells," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's cool.
I got to have her experience for once. But yeah, so this is a really, really well done movie, and like Aiden said, it is surprisingly, it is historical fiction. Because this is set in 1650s Ireland. The English have basically settled or taken over Ireland, and they're none too happy about it.
Yeah, this takes the main bad guy of this is fucking English General Oliver Cromwell.
Yeah, like I was like looking up the cast just to see if there's any notable people, and there's only like one notable person I know. But yeah, Oliver Cromwell was a real person.
Yeah,
he's a real general.
and judging from how this movie treats him, probably a dick too.
I mean, I just assume most people in ancient history were some kind of asshole.
Yeah,
especially if they're British, they're probably an asshole.
If they're British and have some modicum of power, they're probably an asshole.
So I wanted to ask, because I haven't seen Song of the Sea, but I can remember of the stuff that I can't remember from Secret of Kells specifically. I remember how good they were able to make like a villain that you really despise, because I really despise the antagonists in this movie. And I was just thinking about Secret of Kells. I'm just like, yeah, I actually really remember like really disliking the which is the point, obviously, but it's like I feel like in other movies, like the antagonist they're not developed well enough to feel like to evoke a sort of reaction like that. But I feel like in this movie they do a really good job of it, and they did the same in Secret of Kells too. But I wanted to ask if it was the same way in Song of the Sea.
Well, Matt, you have to watch Song of the Sea to get that answer, because I don't... Saying that would kind of... Just watch Song of the Sea. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
I'm
Fair
sorry.
enough.
I don't want to spoil any parts of that movie, but, like, yeah, genuinely... Yeah, though, like, this is definitely another case where Cromwell just as a villain is so fucking, like, hateable, but in, like, such a good way, where, like, you do, like, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
He kind of reminded me of the bad guy from Pocahontas, but, like,
I was gonna say that.
that.
Yeah. No,
not as much of a buffoon.
You mean the fact that they're both invading other land and colonizing it for their own country? Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, he's a little Ratcliffe, but so yeah, sorry, go ahead, Aiden.
I was gonna say the person that Cromwell as a villain in this movie reminds me of more, I'd say, is like I would say fucking what was his name from The Hunchback?
Frollo?
Yeah, Frollo. Like
yeah,
I got like Frollo vibes from
yeah,
him.
I could see that because he's very religion heavy.
Yeah.
He, like everything he does is in the name of God, which, like, I was saying while we're watching this movie, is there anybody who does things in the name of God in movies that isn't evil? Like, does anyone do anything good in the name of the Lord?
That is like the number one way to make somebody, and maybe that's, that's neither here nor there, like, religion and everything, but I just feel like, yeah, if you want to make your characters really hateable, just make it so that they're doing things
they're religious zealot
for their lord, or that sort of stuff is just so infuriating.
Yeah.
So
basically this movie, like I said, takes place in like 1600s Ireland. The English have invaded this Irish town of Kilkenny. I don't know where that is in Ireland. I'm sorry, Irish people. But basically the English are basically enacting deforestation around the town, but are held up by this roving pack of wolves who are, unbeknownst to them, are actually led by a pair of Wolfwalkers, which is a mother and daughter who, when they fall asleep, can basically turn into wolves.
They like astral project, kind of.
They astral project, but are actual wolves. So they're like spirit wolves, but they're like real wolves at the same time. It's kind of confusing.
I think the simplest way to put it is that they're basically druids, but not real, but like not entirely.
Right.
The way I was thinking about it was like they're basically like werewolves, but they're
Irish werewolves.
They're pagan werewolves, basically.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen on a full moon. It just happens when they go to sleep.
Yeah. But a lot of the story is centered around this girl, Robin, who with her father are English and moved here from England to help with the colonization and deforestation. Robin's father is a hunter and is supposed to be driving out these wolves, which, fun historical fact, the Irish grey wolf was hunted to extinction 300 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I was like, oh yeah, they're trying to get rid of the wolf. I'm like, no, the Irish just, hunted these things to extinction because they thought they were a nuisance. We didn't know about conservation back in the day.
Spoilers for world history, I suppose.
I guess, but
Womp womp.
But Robin wants to be a hunter like her dad, so she keeps sneaking out to the forest, even though kids are really not supposed to leave the walls of the city. And she runs into this little girl, Wolfwalker, Maeve. They say Maeve. It is spelled really weird. It's like Mabh or something. It's
That's
Irish.
how it's pronounced.
it's Irish. They spell things weird. But they kind of strike up a nice little friendship. Maeve actually accidentally bites Robin and gives her the Wolfwalker powers. And then there's just like this fun little adventure of them becoming friends, but being at odds with the English who are trying to run the wolves out and trying to conquer nature, basically.
One thing I want to talk about, because this is something that Cartoon Saloon are really good at. God, I love Robin and Maeve's designs and how they contrast one another too. So like, Robin and all the townsfolk are drawn with like these rigid shapes and like solid lines, to give sort of structure and form. Whereas with Maeve and the wolves, they're more like softer, sketchier lines to be more freeform.
I wanted to bring that up, and it's actually so yeah. There is a very subtle artistic difference between whether a scene is being taken place in the town or if it's out in the forest. When you watch this movie, if you notice, when characters are in the town, everything is basically woodblock print.
The is really like skewed and stuff.
Yeah, there's heavy blacks, very solid colors. The colors are not always center with the lines. They kind of bleed over sometimes. Which if you've done screen printing or block prints before, that is something that happens. But like Aiden was saying, once you get out into the forest, the denizens of the forest are actually more of a sketchy kind of style, so much that in some shots you can actually see the characters like base construction lines. Like you see like the shape of their head, the circle they use to make the shape of their head through their hair. Or I noticed in some of the dogs, they would like sometimes you could still see the weird circles and lines they use for
form the body.
The body, like try to put the joints together.
And like on one hand, that could be seen. Like I could see some people being like saying that could take them out of the whole experience. For me personally, I really love that little touch, just as a sort of way of like.
It's like a thematic thing.
Both as a thematic thing and also just as a reminder that a group of people did this all like drew all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think like that little realization is kind of the moment of oh, this is incredible. Holy shit.
And like Matt was saying, it actually serves a thematic purpose. Because you'll notice that like we said, if you're in the town, all the townspeople are in this like very hard line woodblock kind of style. Robin herself. But once Robin gets outside of the town and starts interacting with Maeve, you see that she starts getting the sketchy style.
God.
And it really drives that point home where towards the end of the movie where Robin is taken back into the city, and I think it's the part where they're going to unveil where the commander guy has Maeve's mother in a cage. And it really drives that point home where Maeve breaks into the city and Robin and she and Robin are fighting, and Robin is in this hardline style, but Maeve is in the sketchy style. And just seeing those two styles clash together really kind of drives that point home of like when you're in town, it's very rigid, very just like very designed, but when you're out in the forest, everything is way more free. And I like how they chose to depict that through the actual art style.
Another thing I want to point out, and this is something that the movie is great with, and that is how it plays with shot compositions and how it uses that theming of how the town and the forest are sort of designed to play with those shot compositions. Because when you're in the town, like you guys said, the perspective and the shot compositions are very rigid. They're very straight lines. There's a lot of like there are a lot of like three panel shots. Shots, and there's like a lot of that. But then when you go into the forest, it's a lot of like focusing more on like circular areas. Like there's a lot of great moments and a lot of great shots in this movie that are just like one big circle in the center with things surrounding it. It's a very, very interesting touch that they it just adds so much to the like narrative theming of the film just through visuals, and I love that.
The two other things that I really enjoy about kind of the presentation here is during moments of like really strong emotion, there'll be like bits where the edge of the frame is like starting to push in and is like sort of like kind of deteriorating, kind of like and that stuff's really cool. The other thing was, and I mean this is like through good portions of the film, but just like anything that relates to like kind of anyone that's been bitten that has kind of like the Wolfwalker ability, like they're able to kind of see like the
they see and sense.
Yeah, you can sense things, and so you're seeing like this color like splashed on top of like this,
Like, yeah, it's basically everything in the world has like its own scent, like smell trail.
Yeah, and so the way that they like kind of animate that and kind of play with that is like incredible, especially because all these sequences pretty much they're done there's some sequences that are done where like it's the characters like like the two main girls like as wolves like running through and interacting with the environment and stuff, but then you get like some bits where it's like actually like in first person view and it's going through like the actual like it's going through the town like on the rooftops and stuff and like and it's insane. Like
it's gotta be said that like the fact this movie's use of first person shots is unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Like the sequence where Robin accidentally finds out that she's a Wolfwalker and she's like looking in her room and she realizes she's a wolf. Like that's just like, oh, it's beautiful. And again, I love just like the use of when the wolf vision, where like the world is all colorless and muted, not colorless, but like darker and more of like a dark blue color. Yeah. But then, like, all the scent trails and all the hearing things, it's like, there's so much just... This movie is just visually a goddamn spectacle.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And something else I wanted to bring up about its, I guess, art direction. I'm pretty sure they did this in Kells. I cannot remember if it was in Song of the Sea. But the way they do environment perspective. So there are points in this town where they're off outside of the town, up basically where the woodsmen are chopping down the trees. They go up to the tree line, and you look back at the town. The town is shown from like I'd almost say a one-dimensional perspective.
Yeah, so this is what I meant earlier when I was talking about like the skewed perspective, kind of, because like there's shots where it'll show like inside of like a building or no, even like in the square where like they'll be like up on a stage and like there's the crowd and it's kind of like you completely understand like what it is trying to present itself as, but it's like done in such a like unconventional way. Like most. I don't know that any other movies that animated movies I've really seen that have kind of conveyed it in that way. That's really impressive.
I've heard this be used as like a complaint against the movie, but in my personal opinion, like I think it's great. I think it's a great way of showcasing scope and size in the shot because it's just like you see the big flat surface, you just see like everything, and then like.
Well, I mean, it's done on purpose, because like. That the way that they do this kind of flat environment is based on very like ancient English, Irish like paintings. Like that was. Yeah, that's the way they used to do perspective back then. This is like pre-Renaissance painting. So that's just how they would like draw landscapes. It would just be flat like that.
This is all like coming just like a refinement of the style that they had way back in Kells, which in and of itself is a style based off of the actual book of Kells, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, so I like that they are taking a lot of this old Irish art styles and storytelling, but bringing it into a modern sense, so that we in the modern era can like be exposed to these kind of folklores and art styles and be able to understand them. Speaking of understanding, there are parts of this movie I do not understand without subtitles because everyone's accent is so fucking thick.
I think it's just the fact that I've seen all these films, but like I got used to it.
Like there's the woodsman that they put in the stocks. I only understood about half of what he said. Because his accent is so thick.
Yeah, he was the only character where I had like a little bit of trouble understanding, but everyone else in the movie I was completely fine with.
Like Maeve's accent isn't really. I mean, you could tell she's Irish, but she's not that thick. You could understand Robin and her dad fine because they're English. They're not like Cockney English. They're just like kind of old English.
The dad's also Sean Bean.
I was about to say this is one of the few movies Sean Bean doesn't die, even though there's an instance or two where you think he might.
Yeah.
They really played with the idea that Sean Bean could probably die, but they don't, and I like that they did.
He actually gets a very nice happy ending, and I'm happy for it.
Hell yeah.
He gets a nice big wolf mama.
Hell yeah, man.
And that's really all that we want in life.
Listen,
And
listen.
that ending is like really nice. We should definitely touch upon that again. But
yeah, and I'll save what I was gonna say when we touch upon the ending a little more.
Yeah.
In depth. Fuck. Like, honestly, the story itself, like, is mostly pretty straightforward, all things considered. Like, I think, like, one thing I do like is, like, the sorta air of mystery earlier on in the second act, but, like, it's relatively easy to see coming, but it's still, like, the tension never leaves. Like I would say, speaking as someone who's seen all these, the third act in this film, and especially the climax, is probably, like, the best that this studio's ever done.
Oh, yeah, just, like, with the English army, like, going to burn the forest down, which I love the fire effects in this. It is just straight red, white. It is just straight red, white, and black.
Yeah, it is great.
And it looks like it is keeping with that kind of woodblock style, so it is very grainy, very angular. But they're setting fire to this very naturalist, very watercolor forest. And I just love the contrast between those two. But you're completely right. I mean, like, the entire climax of this movie is just so tense, watching this English army invade a forest and be met with this, like, army of wolves, and watching them fight off, and, like, slowly watching this commander guy, like, getting beaten back until, you know, he kind of takes a pussy way out. But
I would disagree. I think Cromwell goes out in a pretty cool way, all things considered.
Like, the way he goes out is cool. The reason he goes out is a pussy move.
You're right. Yeah.
He's just like, well, I'm fucked. Might as well go out. Might as well do myself. So.
Oh yeah, but, like,
could have been a wolf, bud.
It could have been a wolf, but he's like, nah, I'm just gonna fall backwards off this cliff. I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction. And then he goes down, quoting, like, asking God to forgive him or something. Which is like
weak.
He's like, God protect me. He's like, bruh, God hasn't protected you in years.
God doesn't protect you. You're English.
God.
But God saved the queen. Anyway. No, I really just like the simple friendship that is formed by between the two main characters. Just, you know, obviously Robin comes into this. She does not believe in it, that Wolfwalkers are a thing. It's just myth. But, you know, she runs into Maeve, and, you know, they kind of just bond together, especially after Robin finds out that she has Wolfwalker powers because Maeve bit her on the arm.
Yeah. That's another. And yeah, just. Again, there's not much really to say with the story. Like, there are, like, great moments of tension, especially just, like, as it's building up to the third act. But for the most part, like, the story itself is very simple. It's very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a problem. It's a very straightforward story, but its execution is very, very, very good. Like, I think
sure.
I don't really know what else to say about that one. God, I'm having a hard time. Like, I have my notes in front of me, but I am still having a hard time to put into words how unbelievably masterful this movie really is.
Which is definitely just hard talking about. Like, you know, this is like, I guess with any podcast that talks about a visual medium, it's kind of hard to illustrate that, like, you know, without just using your words.
I would definitely feel like this is one of those, like, you have to see this to believe this.
Absolutely,
kind of animation.
If you take anything away from this podcast, watch this movie. Mm-hmm. Just watch this movie.
Yeah. This movie is on Apple TV. That's, I'm sure, will be coming on home media at some point too. Like,
just get a free trial of Apple TV or something.
I mean, I got a free trial of HBO to watch Wonder Woman, so
do whatever you have to watch this film. It is an actual masterpiece.
Yeah, and that is kind of. I wanted to speak about that just very briefly. I am almost wondering if that's going to be a detriment to people seeing this movie, because I mean, all the rest of the last three, I think, were in theaters, if briefly. But I feel like hiding this movie behind a streaming service that I don't think is doing very well, from what I've heard. Like if this is on Netflix, everyone would be watching this. Yeah. But even if you put this on HBO Max, people might see it. But like, I feel like Apple Plus is like pretty low on the totem pole of the streaming services. So,
well, it's worth pointing out that like all three of their movies never really break even that often. For example, Secret of Kells had a budget of $8 million. Box office gross was only $3.5 million.
Now, is that U.S. box office or is that global?
I believe it is. I'm going to assume it's global, or it might be US, like just US. Point is that, like, generally speaking, these movies don't always make a whole lot of money back. But Cartoon Saloon get a lot of money from various other organizations and other sponsors that help them make these other films.
Yeah,
because they're incredible films. It's worth investing your money in. Just for the artistry of it.
And I honestly feel like, I think part of the reason I like this studio so much is because they're keeping such like high quality hand-drawn animation alive, much like a lot of French studios do these days.
Yeah.
But like we've seen, like America decided that 2D animation wasn't profitable anymore, so we went straight 3D since for like the last almost 15 years now.
And I'm gonna be honest, while you'll have movies like Spider-Verse that do really cool things with CGI, I, for one, am getting kind of tired of CGI.
Dude, I'm actually I'm starting to like think like I kind of like the way Sony is going.
The way Sony's going about it, well, by basically having 3 CGI but using like older 2D animation techniques. I think that's the smart way to do it.
I feel like specifically Sony and DreamWorks is also doing some good stuff too.
DreamWorks, I think, is still pretty hit or miss, but
I'm just thinking specifically, like I'm thinking like Captain Underpants, like the way that they
farmed that out to another studio. Technically,
was it not? Wait, really?
Captain Underpants was done by a smaller studio in like Canada.
That explains a lot.
But what I'm saying is that like,
who did the Peanuts movie?
That was Blue Sky.
Okay, Blue Sky. Yeah, so that was the other one too.
That was like the best thing Blue Sky's ever done.
Right. Yeah. So like you're getting a lot of these instances in like the last like decade where the CG movies have been able to sort of like push their medium to kind of not just look all the like you take like most Disney movies that come out unfortunately like they do have a sort of sameness to them.
Dude, like we were talking about when we talked about Soul, I forgot that Onward was a Pixar movie because Pixar and Disney look so similar.
God.
Yeah.
That's honestly, like, I've heard a lot of people say that like Soul is a fantastic, like that's probably going to end up winning best animated feature at the Oscars. Who fucking cares? This is the real best animated film of the year. Holy shit. I also don't give a crap.
Yeah, I don't care what the Academy is run by a bunch of are very outspoken about how they don't watch the animated films and they just go with whatever their grandkids tell them.
And yet we'll probably still have an episode of the podcast trying to predict a winner, and we'll all say Up. Or sorry, not Up. God damn it, I'm still sore about that, like 11 years later.
I will never not be sore when...
Yeah. I mean, Onward could be on there. I don't think it needs to be, because it's just okay, but...
It's so whatever.
Guys, I think we're missing the point that I think Sonic the Hedgehog is still like one of the highest grossing movies of 2020.
I think it was only beat out by like Bad Boys for Life, I think.
Yeah. I think that was the movie that brought everybody back temporarily.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Sonic is the highest grossing superhero movie, which is weird. I don't see Sonic as a superhero, but
he saved
I guess in the very generalist of sense.
But yeah, to go back to Wolfwalkers for a minute, like just to kind of wrap things up, like so the ending of the big climactic moment of this movie, I was really like I was on edge for the entire time, like when I first saw this with some friends, and I was really goddamn worried that they were. So long story short, Cromwell like reveals to everybody Maeve's mother, the wolf, while she's still a wolf, and eventually some stuff happens and Maeve breaks out, and like Maeve breaks bunch of stuff happens. Basically, wolves are about to go into the town and kill everybody. Robin frees Maeve's mother. They have a nice little reunion by the. Okay, one other thing I want to point out, and I love this. The use of the repeated shot of the tree on the hill overlooking the town, and like every time they go back to that shot on the tree, it's like getting like there's less and less of the forest, and by the last time, and then the last time they use it, the tree's cut down, and like it's still got that like perfect like half circular look. But anyway, so yeah, they finally get out. They get Maeve's mother to the other wolves, and then Robin's father shoots Maeve's mother and nearly kills her. And I was genuinely like worried. Oh God, are they gonna do this? Are they gonna kill the mother?
Yeah.
Because this is an animated movie, and thankfully, this is the one time that a mother in an animated movie doesn't die.
I honestly had more concern for Robin's dad dying than I had for Maeve's mom.
I mean, I would be concerned, but then he turns into a fucking Wolfwalker.
Well, so the reason I wasn't concerned with Maeve shown earlier that they have healing magic, so I'm like, it may take a second, but they're gonna heal Maeve's mom. She's not gonna die. But that fight between Cromwell and I think his name is Bill.
Yeah.
Bill. Goodfellow. He's just mostly called Goodfellow.
Right. But yeah, just like the fight between them, and I like that there is the part after Bill turns into a wolf. He goes into his Wolfwalker form, and Wolf Bill is fighting Cromwell. I like that there was an instance where you see Cromwell put the connection together. He sees Bill's lifeless human body laying on the side, and he's about to shoot the wolf. And you're like, wait a second. He immediately looks over to the dead body, aims the gun at the unconscious body. He's like, I can kill them both at the same time.
Oh God!
Just like watching him make that connection was like really like, I'm down with this fight right now.
God, yeah.
It was a really good fight.
It was genuinely a really good fight.
And then like I feel like Bill was gonna let him live. He wasn't gonna let him cliff, but then like
nah.
Then Cromwell's like starts like talking to Jesus, and then he his chest armor and falls off a cliff into a pit of spikes. And
as you would.
Like you do.
But yeah, so we do end up with an actually a very happy ending.
Happy ending. Goodfellow and Maeve's mother get married, and Robin and Maeve become like sisters. And
they're wagon hippies.
They are wagon
hippies. The moral of the story is: fuck the British and Catholicism, embrace paganism and wolves.
There you go.
I don't like. I'm sure that is part of it. Like like showing how like this religious stuff and nature, but I honestly saw this as having progression fight against nature, where it's just like the English are trying to like beat back nature. They're trying to conquer it. They're getting rid of the wolves environment, where the wolves are trying to fight back, and they just want to live in peace. They don't want to really fight anybody. But their land's being invaded, so they obviously have to fight back. So I just like this kind of dichotomy of like I said, progression versus like nature. Like you can't conquer nature.
Yeah, it like yeah. I only say that because I thought it would be a funny thing to say, and also it's kind of accurate.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't disagree with you.
Fuck the British, embrace being a wolf.
Why be British when you could be a wolf?
Yeah.
Why are you British?
No offense to any of our British listeners.
I'm like half British. I can make fun of them.
I mean, all three of us here are white, so we're all some sort of like degree of British, English,
I'm like
Irish,
a weird.
Scottish.
My according to my parents, I am like some mix of Irish and German.
According to my parents, I'm some weird mixture of British and Scottish, which is basically a mixture of self-loathing.
I just want to say that I've looked at my family history. My family has not moved out of the Ohio, Kentucky area in over years so far, and so as far as my European roots go, it don't matter.
Oh yeah,
I am an American.
I am.
I don't bother with my European heritage because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever.
We're all mutts.
I like my wife has like living grandparents that are off the boat Italian immigrants. I can't find when my ancestors came to this country. So, but no, like, but I just really enjoy these movies from Cartoon Saloon because I like that they're taking these Irish folklores that I don't think have been covered not nearly this well and get them to a wider audience. Clearly they can do other things like Breadwinner, which is not Irish specific.
It's worth noting their next film is something called it's something called My Father's Dragon, which I think is going to be based on Chinese mythology.
Yeah. So when we did our episode on like the preview for this stuff that was supposed to come out this year, we brought that one up, and I don't think we had much information to go off of. I didn't realize that was a Cartoon Saloon production.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
it's still early in production, so and it's gonna be so there's no telling what it is yet. But yeah, it'll be a Cartoon Saloon movie, and it will be directed by, I believe, the co-director of this film. No, not the or is it? No, not the co-director of this film.
But somebody that's done Cartoon Saloon stuff before.
Yeah, it'll be directed by the same woman who directed The Breadwinner.
Right. Okay. So.
Interesting, actually. I'm very interested to see how that'll turn out.
And I'm looking at the Wikipedia. The movie will actually be put on Netflix.
Nice.
Oh, well, there you go. So that one, hopefully, get it out to a wider audience, because, like, as you were saying, I don't think many people do have Apple TV, but definitely, if you can get a free trial out there, you should definitely spend it to watch Wolfwalkers, because it is absolutely worth the watch. It is a beautiful film, and it's probably going to end up being like one of the best films of this year.
I would argue it's going to be one of the best films of this decade. Even though the decade just started, but let's I don't know what's going to top it. This is pretty high.
Well, where do we think this decade starts? Does it start on 20 or 20?
Well, on 20.
On 20.
Okay.
If we're just going off of what we did for our best of the decade episode, we did that from like 2010 to 2019.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to heap praise on this movie about before we wrap up?
This if there's one thing Cartoon Saloon has done is both make me appreciate Irish folklore, history, and like old Irish and Celtic folk music. Because like all three of these films' score are all like traditional Irish like, folklore music,
really
folk music.
I meant to bring that up, because the score is done by it's an Irish band. I wrote down the name. It was Kias, I think, Kilas. But it's a collaboration with Bruno. I'm gonna butcher the name. Bruno Coulet, who I knew the name of because they did the soundtrack for Coraline.
Really?
Yeah. Which it was funny because like I was just starting like watching this movie, like the intro and stuff, and I was hearing the kind of like the little like the children like singing and stuff, and I was just like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely him. Because that was a really prevalent thing in Coraline too. But yeah, no, that's it's cool that they've kept this partnership together throughout this Irish the folklore trilogy.
It is weird that like this is being billed as the last part of at least the third installment in the folklore trilogy. So I would actually like to watch the three of the Irish folklore movies they've done back to back, just to see like kind of the progression.
Yeah, same here.
Hit me up when you're ready to do that, because I'm more than happy to go through these again. These are all three of my favorite films ever made.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to set that up one of these days. Well, guys, I think that'll do us for this week. If you got through this thing and don't feel too terribly spoiled and you haven't watched the movie, go out and watch Wolfwalkers. Even if, like we said, go get a trial of Apple TV just to watch it. I think this is one of those instances where I think at least getting a trial for a streaming service is worth it. Whether you stick with it, I can't tell because I don't know what they have, but they have this. It's very well done. It's very beautiful. Just like everything Cartoon Saloon's done. I highly recommend it. And we will eventually talk about the rest of their movies at some point in the future. Don't you worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, everybody, let us know what you thought about this episode in the comment sections of various places this episode is posted. Thank you all for listening. Guys, thank you for being here talking about this movie. And everybody, just stay safe out there, and we'll be back again next week with something else. So take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. You can also jump in our Discord to keep up with the conversation. The Ink and Paint Club podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Links, as always, are in the description. We'll see you next time.